twice I say, but the wonder of wonders that thrills my soul is the wonder that God loves me. Oh, the wonder of it all, the wonder of it all, just to think that God loves me. Oh, the wonder of it all, the wonder of it all, just to think that God loves me. There's the wonder of springtime and harvest, the sky, the stars, the sun, but the wonder of wonders that thrills my soul is a wonder that's only begun. Oh, the wonder of it all, the wonder of it all, just to think that God loves me. Oh, the wonder of it all, the wonder of it all, just to think that God loves me.
Just as we are standing, the way we are standing, those that are moving, please take a hold that we shall come at the feet of Jesus. Shall we pray? Our Father and our God, we want to thank you yet another moment that you have provided unto us, still in the hours of the Sabbath. We come to you thanking you because of that provision that you gave us. And now that we are back to listen to your word, may you incline your spirit unto us, that what we shall hear from your speaker, Rose, that, Father, Lord, it shall be a blessing to each and every one of us. May you use her again, for this is our humble prayer. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you. Sister Rose, you're most welcome to continue.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm feeling like I'm far, maybe because you are seated at the back and the church is not full. I don't know whether, is it possible for people to sit at the front? Those who are at the back, maybe you move a bit closer to the front. Please move a bit closer. Yeah, we don't need to be so far and it's the afternoon. So thank you so much for this opportunity once again. I remember when Sister Jennifer called me during the week regarding the speaking today. She was very clear on what I was going to talk to you in the afternoon about. She said in the afternoon, talk about mental health, mental wellness or mental illness. And I'm happy that we are talking about this topic because it's a silent epidemic, something that affects all of us, and yet many times we don't know what to do or even how to respond. So I'm really happy to talk about this topic. Statistics show that 1 in every 4 Kenyan is, let me get it more clear. 1 out of 10 teenager has a mental illness, 1 out of 10 teen. So here we are talking about between the ages of 10 to 24, 1 out of 10 teen has a mental health issue, according to the mental health report in Kenya. And statistics also show that worldwide, 1 student commits suicide every hour. 1 student commits suicide every hour. 1 student commits suicide every 1 hour. So when I go to speak in schools, I tell them if we are going to be together for 4 hours today, it's like 4 students are going to commit suicide. That's a very big number, especially when we talk about, when we talk about that student being somebody I know, somebody related to me. 1 out of every Kenyan has a mental illness or is living with a mental illness. 1 out of every 4 Kenyan. So if we are all Kenyans here, I believe. So if I was to begin to count, I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 of us. And by the way, we are not even saying that these are the ones who have mental illness, these are the ones who don't. It's a season, it's a whole range. So you can think you're okay today if you are okay, but again tomorrow something can happen that will destabilize you. So what I want to do today, I'm not teaching you to diagnose mental illness, please. People go to school for close to 10 years to be able to diagnose and to treat mental illness, and I'm not one of them. So that's not what I'm doing. I'm just helping you understand, number one, the risk factors. What can cause somebody to have a mental illness? So the risk factors. Then I'll also tell you what to do. What can you do so that you can improve your mental health? Because again, we are not talking about those people out there. We are talking about ourselves. So what are some of the things that put us at risk? And then what are some of the things that we can do? So before we talk about it, I want us to do a questionnaire, self-test. You're going to test yourself. The answer is just simple. I'll read, and then the answer is just simple. You either say yes or no. Answer yes or no, then take. So for every yes, it's 1. And for every no, it's a 0. If you have somewhere to write, or if you can be, like, how do we say, you close your finger when you have said a yes. Yes is the most important. Wherever you say yes, just take note of the yeses. So I'll go a bit fast. Everybody, please do this test. Just say yes or no. So when I read something, you just say yes or no. And if it's yes, write 1. If it's 0, if it's no, write 0. Is that clear? So you can either say yes or no. Or when there's a yes, you put 1. When there's a no, you put 0. Is that clear? Okay, so let's go. The first question. Are you able to reject sad thoughts easily? Are you able to reject sad thoughts easily? Like when a sad thought comes, like the finance bill, and you're thinking about how the finances in your family are going to look like next month. Is it easy for you to shake off that thought? Or do you take time? You know yourself. Do you take time? Like, are you the people who spend sleepless nights? Like, there are some parents who are not sleeping because their children are joining university. And you see, with the new reforms, the university fees is now so high. So there are people who are not sleeping. Are you the kind of people who stay? You stay for long. Something that happened yesterday is still bothering you? Or is it easy for you to push it away and then you go to sleep? Yes or no? Don't overthink. Just yes or no. Number 2, do you tend to look at the positive side of things? Do you tend to look more on the positive side or the negative side? When it rains, do you begin saying, oh my God, now it's raining, matope, the road, how is it going to be? Or do you say, thank God it has rained. At least we will have food. I'm just giving a simple example. Like, what normally do you tend to look at, honestly? Positive or negative? Yes or no? So the question, do you tend to look at the positive side of things? Yes or no? Okay. Number 3, do you tend to forget the offenses people did to you in the past? Do you tend to forget the offenses people did to you in the past? When someone wronged you, do you remember or do you forget? Are you the kind of people who people say, but you remember the other time they did this? You are like, really? I can't remember. Or are you the ones who remember 15 years ago, he was wearing a red tie and this is what he told me? There are people who still remember how their father beat them when they were in 3 years. Yes, and the father is dead. But they remember clearly, Alini Chapa even dragged me down and it was under a tree. Like they remember so clearly. Okay? So, do you tend to forget? So the question is, do you forget? People offend you, but you forget. Is it a yes or a no? Okay? Number 4, are you reasonably satisfied with your life? Are you reasonably satisfied with your life? The way your life is right now, are you satisfied? You know, we can never be 100%, but are you at a good place? Like you're like, I thank God, niko sawa. Like when somebody says, how are you doing? Niko sawa. And you mean it. Deep down you mean it. You are reasonably satisfied. Whether it's your employment, your family, or your work, you are reasonably okay. So the answer is yes or no. Some people are not doing. Number 5, do you often display laughter and good humor? Is it easy for you to laugh? Like when somebody has said something, or sometimes you just watch a comedy and you are laughing. Is it easy for you to laugh and even make fun? Is it easy? Yes or no? Just be honest, because the way you answer it is going to help you know how mentally your mental health status, or rather not mental health status, but whether you are prone to mental illness, whether you are likely to get mental illness. Number 6, do you seek conversation with other people? When you meet strangers, is it easy for you to strike a conversation? Hi, how are you? I'm so and so. You know, is it easy? Or are you the type of people who can go to a church for years, but you never, like you've not talked to anybody? Instead, you just say, that church, they don't even care about visitors. Like, I've been there for 2 months and nobody has said hi to me. But who have you said hi to? Like, you've not said hi. So, the question is, do you seek conversation? Seek, not wait for conversation. Do you seek conversation with other people? Yes or no? You will realize as you answer the question, some of these things, mental health is something we can actually manage. We are not victims. We can manage. Okay? So that was number 6. Number 7, is it easy for you to open your intimate thoughts to someone you trust? Is it easy? You're going through something. It's easy for you to just tell, not everybody, of course, but you're able to tell your partner, your friend, I want to talk. There's something that I would like to share. You know, something happened and I'm really concerned. Is it easy? Or are you the ones unakufa kiume, kisoja? Like you can die with something and people have got no idea. Do you know, I have come across families whereby, imagine somebody has a child and the partner does not know. You understand what I'm saying? Somebody has a child out of wedlock and the partner does not know. You think it's only men. You know, it's easier for men to hide a child. But I know women, they have wedded in holy matrimony in the Adventist church. And they have children. And the husband does not know. So sometimes I look at it, I'm like, do you tell? Do you not tell? The husband does not know. The child is being raised by the mother or the sister. The child is grown. You're wondering. And they're just, saying, they are our firstborn, The husband does not know this lady had a child. Can you imagine? Okay. Now, the other one is number 8. Do you belong to a mentally healthy family? Do you belong to a mentally healthy family? How do we know that your family is mentally healthy? Has there been anybody who has been depressed, anxious, suicidal, addicted? Generally, if you have had cases of suicide, depression, addiction, that's not a mentally healthy family, okay? So generally, even the way you hear from your grandparents, there was this and this and that. So if you belong to a mentally healthy family, as far as you can remember, no one in your family has suffered a mental illness, then the answer is yes, okay? Now, the number 9, do you find it easy to help someone in need? Yes or no? If there's somebody who needs something and you're being asked, like as a church, Nani so and so is struggling, can we need to contribute something? And you see this even in the church group. It's not about who has and who doesn't have. When someone is going through something, some people, you squeeze them like a sponge. You squeeze, not a sponge. Actually, it's like bleeding 2 stones before they can give anything. And it's not even like they don't have. Sometimes I even feel sad when in a church setup, the pastor or the preacher has to convince you to tithe and to offer? I always wonder, I'm like, someone has to come here a whole week of stewardship to convince you to tithe? Really? Or to give offering? How is that now? So is it easy for you, like someone doesn't have to convince you until you just feel like, ameongea sana, wacha nitoe. You know, like you just come willingly, you give. You know, when you have, you give. Somebody is in need, come on, we can share this. Do you find it easy to help someone in need? Someone is genuinely in need. We are not talking about enabling. You can see somebody, sometimes you even see someone, you are maybe in a matatu together. They have a child, they are holding another one, the other one is crying, and people are just seated. You know, nobody can even just say, oh, come and sit here with me. Just that, you know, something like that. A child, a mother is struggling with 3 children. Nobody even just wants to move closer to even play with one of the children. Number 10, are you satisfied with your employment? Wherever you are working, whatever business you're doing, whatever school you are in, are you satisfied? Do you like your job? Honestly, you are not just working for money, but you're like, yeah, I wake up in the morning, I look forward to going. We are almost there. Number 11, do you know how to escape from too much stress? We all go through stress. That's definite. We are in the world. But when you are going through so much stress, do you know what to do to escape? Do you know what to do, and do you do it? Or do you sit through and you are very stressed and, you know, you are not doing anything, you are just there? Or is it easy for you to escape? You're like, this is getting too much, you know. Number 12, do you practice hobbies and activity that help you to relax and make you feel good? By the way, do you even have hobbies and activities? Some people, it is just work, church, home. Work, church, home. There are no hobbies. Like, what makes you feel good? Like just something, you know, is it reading? Is it swimming, running? What? Do you even have it anyway? So the answer is yes or no. Do you practice hobbies and activity that help you relax and make you feel good? Number 13, do you keep physically active? And I'm not talking about walking to work because you are saving money or something, or because the matatu leaves you at a place, but do you physically, intentionally, deliberately keep active? Like you're going for a run, you're going for a walk, you're going to the gym. Intentionally, that activity of physical exercise, intentional, deliberate. Not because now I have to dig this shamba, you know, not that one, but physical activity intentionally. Number 14, do you enjoy good health generally? If you are here and you're not on any medication and you're not sick, you know, you are not having, you know, you don't have this condition that you are living with, the answer is yes. So do you generally enjoy good health? Like you're not on any medication, you don't have an underlying disease as you are. Do you understand? So the answer is yes. If you have no disease, you're not on any medication. So if you have ulcers, hypertension, diabetes, whatever, the answer is no. Okay? Number 15, the last one. Do you look at the future with confidence and hope? When you look at your future, do you have hope and confidence? Or do you look at the future and you see doom and gloom? When you just think about your future, just your future, what do you see? What do you see? Confidence, hope, happiness, joy, sadness, sorrow, gloom, doom, bad days ahead, or do you see good days? So if you look at the future with all this expectation and hope, the answer is yes. If not, no. So for every yes that you scored, the answer, for every yes, it's 1. For every yes, it's 1. Add all your yeses. For every no, it's a 0. Let me give you a minute. Add all your yeses. Okay. What have you scored? Your yeses. Let me see the people who are doing. Okay, share. What have you scored? You have 12 out of 15. Okay, fantastic. That's a young man. Let me see a young lady. What have you scored? It's okay, you are a young lady. Yeah, please tell me. What have you scored? 8 out of 15. 10 out of 15, that's good. Let me see a man. Okay, I can have you and you. 13 out of 15, wow. Wonderful, wonderful. Those are great scores. Can I assume generally the church has scored very well? I'm the ones who have answered. Okay, I can see this elder here. You've scored 9 out of 15. Okay, good. Please. 10 out of 15. 12 out of 15. This is a very healthy church. So, the more yes answers you have given, the more protection you have against mental illness. The more yeses you have scored, the more you are protected from mental illness. So let me say this questionnaire, I didn't develop it. I got it from Dr. Julian Melgosa. You can see he has written a lot of books. I got it from a book called Positive Mind by Julian Melgosa. Let me declare, because this is going to be aired, let me declare this is not my original work. It's by Dr. Julian Melgosa in his book Positive Mind. Okay? So the more yeses you score, the more you are protected against mental illness. Ideally, the score should be 14 out of 15, ideally. Because the only one you cannot control here is, do you come from a mentally healthy family? That is the one you can score a 0, a no, because you have no control over the family you come from. But if you look at all these things, you can control, generally, you can control all the rest, the 14. Let me see if there's any question, because this is not divine, we are going to make it interactive. Is it clear? Anybody has any question on, so my presentation has 3 parts. This one, it's a self-reflection. Then we will talk about what can we do? We talk about warning signs that somebody could be having a mental illness, and then we talk about protective behaviors. In the questionnaire, if somebody has a question or clarification, I'll be happy to respond. Yes, you can. I don't know whether you could give her a mic or she can ask. Let me hear. So the questionnaire is not still saying whether you are sick or well. The questionnaire is meant to tell you that you are prone, you are likely. The less your score, the more likely you are to get a mental illness. So it's not saying you have a mental illness or not. It is saying you are more likely. And you are more likely because things always happen. So let me give an example. Like now, if for example you don't know how to get out of stress, a stressor can happen, and because you don't know how to escape, it will overwhelm you. Okay? If for example you are living with an illness, a physical illness, most of the illnesses that are physical illnesses, they have a mental health origin, or the physical illness can cause a mental health issue. You understand? It's like the chicken and egg kind of thing. Yeah, I remember like in the advent of HIV, we used to have a lot of people who develop what we could call HIV-related psychosis. Like they become mentally sick because of that, the stress caused by the condition, and again because of course it affects the brain. Yeah, so opportunistic infections. So most of these things, like for example, if you don't practice hobbies and activity, it means you don't know how to manage. You may not manage your stress well. So you are stressed. Instead of getting into a hobby that is going to lift the stress, you sit there, you engage in something that makes you even more stressed. So you need to aim to score at least 14 out of 15. So if there are areas here you can see that you need to improve on, like now if it's opening up your intimate thoughts to someone, feelings, experiences, you need to get that one person you can share with. Okay? Yeah, is that clear? Okay. Anybody else? That's clear? Okay, so we can proceed. But actually the question then is, what are mental illnesses? And here, I won't give you the specific mental illness because there are many. They range from depression, anxiety, severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar, eating disorders. There are many. But I'll just give you a general definition. It's a wide range of conditions that affect the mood, So they affect the mood, the way you feel. Mood is the way you feel. And many times I know people say, oh, women or girls are moody. And sometimes I've seen cases whereby people who are mentally ill, instead of reaching out for help, people generally think that is how women or girls behave. But you find somebody is actually mentally ill. I was being told of a situation yesterday where a lady would get so upset and she breaks the windows and she broke the laptop of the husband. She broke his phone. Now he has no phone. And I said that's an indication of a mental illness. No more people don't behave like that. So they have been married for about a year and she has broken things. And for them, they're excusing it like she's moody. I said, no more people don't break things. So it affects the mood. Either somebody might be so low, hopeless, discouraged, or you will find that somebody is too excited, too hyper, too angry, very extreme moods. The thinking, the way somebody thinks. So mood, thinking. That's why we said sober thoughts, somber, sad thoughts. There are people who just stay in sadness. You can experience, you feel an air of sadness around them. You are with them and the mood is just sad. Even when nothing has happened, it's just sad, There is, something there. So mood, thinking, and also behavior. So it can be the mood, it can be the way somebody thinks, it can be the behavior. Behavior like what I've just said, breaking things, yelling, shouting, it can even be extreme behaviors, dangerous driving, not sleeping well, overeating, things like those. It is a sign of a mental illness. And we said the mental illnesses are many: anxiety, depression, bipolar, eating disorders, personality disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, psychosis, schizophrenia, and all those. So many times when we talk about mental illness, people think about madness, quote unquote. I'm using street language, psychosis, but madness. That's what people think mental illness is, which is a severe form. But mental illness is a range. It's just not one. Naturally, normally, every human being, okay, not every, but let me say, naturally, a human being is curious. Have you ever seen like the way a child who is learning how to walk, you place them somewhere, they will be all over. They want to touch everything and anything. If it's in their home, they are touching sockets and what. And some people don't understand. They say, no, stop the child. So they keep saying, stop. But no, you don't stop the child from exploring. What you do, you make the house child-proof. Because when you're trying to stop the child, you're suppressing their natural curiosity. I remember there was a child, I think it was one of my children, when they were crawling and they were experimenting, the child was trying to eat a snail. So he would touch the snail, try to put it in the mouth, it just slips. So the child kept on, and I'm really scared of snails, but there are people who eat snails. The child is trying to hold the snail, and it just slipped, and the child kept trying, they didn't give up. So normally a human being is curious, they are learning. But every time you see somebody who is just there's a problem. That's not normal for a human being to just sit there. And we have children and teenagers who are depressed, and the parents just see that they have no motivation. Many times parents say, ataki kusoma, ataki kwenda shule, ako tu. Then I say, please, can you take them to be assessed for depression? They're like, no, it's just lazy. No, it is not kawaida for a human being to just be there. No motivation even to do better. They're just there. They're just there. Ako tu. In fact, even when I see people giving up so easily, I keep on asking them, when did you learn to give up so easily? They say, me, I've always been there. They say, me, I've always been like that. Me, I give up easily. Then I ask them, have you ever seen a child learning to walk who gives up easily? Have you seen? I tell them you have not always been like that. Because if you were giving up easily, you would not be walking by now. That's the truth. Some people want to say, my child just stood and they walked. That's not true. There is no normal child who just stands up and walks. Children stand, they stand with support, they try to walk, they fall, they walk, they fall, they fall, they fall hundreds of times. And they start running, they fall until they're able to walk. So if a child was to give up, I mean, I've tried 10 times to walk, I'm not able to run like others, do you think you would be walking? So I tell them that's not true. You are not always like that. There is somewhere along the way something happened or you went through a situation that you learned to give up easily. But normally a human being is persistent. You keep trying, you keep trying. You've seen sometimes people say I started a business and then it failed. You keep trying. You don't give up. Ati so mi mambo ya biashara mi nimeacha. No, you keep trying. You don't give up just like that. So now, having given you the definition, I want to give you warning signs. I'll share with, oh yeah, you have a question, go ahead. Ungependa kusimama tafadhali? Yeah. Use a mic, please. We want to hear. Oh, tuko tu na moja. Get us a roaming mic, please. Pick one from there.
Happy Sabbath. So, umesema like there is a lady uliona like akikasirika huwa anafunja vitu. So, your behavior like umesema it's not normal. Kuna maybe a question, maybe kuna mtu akikasirika huwa analia, akilia azini hiyo hasira inamuondokea. Is it normal?
Okay, so these are 3 rules. Whatever they are doing, they are not harming themselves. Number 1, if they are not harming themselves, they are not harming another person, or they are not allowing themselves to be harmed. So they are not harming themselves, they are not harming another person or something or another thing, and they are not allowing themselves to be harmed. So if you look at those 3 I've given you, does it do any of those? Do they harm themselves by crying? No, they feel better. Do they harm anybody? No. Do they harm anything? They don't. So it's okay to cry, only that if the crying is too excessive, like all the time, or if the crying, when you look at the crying and what has happened, unaona, this did not warrant crying. Ukiona hivyo, most likely there's something that they need to deal with. Okay? There's something. So whatever happened is just a trigger. I give an example, like now upate, maybe someone like their child is late to church and then they start crying. Nikifikiria, nikikumbuka, vile nilikuzaa and you're getting late to church, for example. I'm just giving an example. And they are crying. That's not normal because the child is late. So, so what is it, So you'll find, you can see if the crying is excessive, frequent. And whatever they cry, they are crying like it's a funeral. And yet you're trying to understand what is it, and somebody finished their vegetables. They find maybe it was chicken and somebody ate the part they like. Maybe they like gizzard. Somebody ate the gizzard and they're crying. And you start saying, someone has died. Amekula my imondo, my gizzard. Someone has eaten my imondo, and they're crying. So there's crying when someone is mourning, but there's the crying that you're like, no, there's something deeper. So they need to explore. There's something happening that when something happens, it triggers. Whatever happened at the moment, it triggers a past. Yeah. Okay. So let me share warning signs that somebody could be just in yourself. And when you look at someone, because sometimes when people are mentally ill, sometimes they can't tell, because it continues, and sometimes they can't tell. But for you can look at, and I'm not telling you this so that you go diagnosing people at vile tuliambia huyu akona mental illness. No. I'm just saying, and you're not the one to diagnose, but for you to say maybe we need to seek professional help. If somebody is excessively paranoid, they are worried or they are anxious, excessively. They're just worried. They're just worried all the time. Or they keep thinking that somebody is out to get them. You know, there are people who can't even eat this potluck here. This nice githeri here, there are people who can't eat. Because someone can finish you. Someone can finish you. Even water, like they can't just drink water. In fact, I was being told of a politician who would travel from up country. By the time he reaches Nairobi, he has been in 3 or 4 cars. Like he would begin from his home. Maybe you even know the politician. I'm not naming names. They come, they reach somewhere, get into a different car. They change like 3, 4 cars by the time they get to Nairobi, because they used to feel like somebody could be trailing them, and they saw the car they came with from home and they want to kill them. Yeah? There are people who cannot eat anywhere. In fact, a lady told us about the husband at his place of work. He used to be served tea. He would never take the tea. The tea used to come, he used to give it to his visitors, because he used to say, hey, someone can finish you. And it wasn't a senior person. So the lady was like, someone finish you at work, how? And then he would even not drink water from the dispenser at work. But you know, let me digress. There is no way somebody can poison water and you drink it. Because the poisons that can kill, they either have a very strong and pungent smell, they change the color of the food or anything, and they taste bitter. So really, someone cannot put a poison here and it doesn't change the color or the taste or the smell of the water. It's not possible. Even food, when people say, oh, they poisoned the food, really, they smell a poison that can kill you. This wonderful machinery that the Lord has created, a poison that can kill you. I'm not saying people are not poisoned. They are, but very rarely, because a poison is not something that is tasteless and colorless. It's not. Yeah, it's not. So that's why I'm saying that it's not that easy. So the person could not drink water. You see, like now, if for example, I say, I can't drink water here, somebody could be poisoning me. The thing you ask, is it a fact or a feeling? It's a feeling. Because if it's a fact, you're looking at this water, it looks clear. But if you looked at the water, it's smelling strange, maybe it has a color or something, then maybe you can say, this water, you wouldn't even take it actually, because you would kind of, you will tell. So somebody is paranoid, they're excessively worried. They're always thinking, something happens, even if it's an accident on the road, they're like, ametumwa. This person has been sent to kill me. And I always wonder, some people think that other people are too consumed with killing them. Kila mtu anapambana na hali yake. As in, life is so hard. Now, let me go to another one. Number 2 is, if someone has long-lasting sadness or irritability, the time you think of someone, they are more sad than happy. There are struggles in life, and we won't be happy all the time. But then the moment of sorrow should be less than the moment of happiness. If you find somebody is more on the side of being sad than being happy, most likely it could be they are struggling with a mental illness, okay? Number 3 is, if somebody has extreme changes in mood. You know, there are people whose mood change like the weather. You went to bed and things were okay. They wake up in the morning and you're wondering, what happened? The mood has completely changed. Muliachana in the morning, they went well, maybe to work or whatever. They come in the evening, totally something else. You have to keep asking, what have I done? What have I done? It's like you're walking on glass. That is it could be, let me say, it could be a warning sign that the person has a mental illness. A healthy person shouldn't be having extreme changes in mood with no explanation. Like, you just can't explain. You can't even tell, what have I done, what has happened, but the mood has changed. Number 4, social withdrawal. Social withdrawal. Somebody is now worshiping from home. If other people are eating at home, they serve their food, they want to go and eat isolated. We are wired for connection. Human beings are wired to connect, to interact, to be with others. But if you find somebody who just says, I just like to be alone. I just like to be alone. It's a warning sign that somebody could be having a mental health issue. And I know sometimes I'm asked this when it comes to teenagers, because people say, teenagers like isolation. But the truth is, if you see that your teenager is having long periods of isolation, you need to query. It's not okay. It's not okay that I saw somebody saying in the social media that they have not seen their child for 2 days. The child has just been in their room for 2 days. And sometimes parents can ask and make it as a joke, but it's not a joke. Someone to be in their room for 2 days. So I was even asking, okay, have they eaten, first of all? Like in the room, they isolate themselves. So we are wired to connect, to be with others. But if you find like somebody used to come to church, but now they're just worshiping from their house, it could be a warning sign. And I'm saying warning sign. I'm not saying they have mental illness. I'm saying warning sign. Number 5, if there are dramatic changes in eating or sleeping, you know how much you eat. Now you find you are eating too much or too little. Maybe you are eating very little and you are not hungry. Or you are eating too much all the time and you're not full. Somebody told me how she was going through something and she needed to be awake. So she kept eating the whole night to keep awake. Okay? Now the number 6 is drug and substance abuse. The truth is, if somebody is abusing drugs or substances, they are either escaping from pain or they want to seek pleasure. They want to seek pleasure or they are escaping from pain. They are numbing. Let me say they are numbing the pain or they are escaping. So the question that we need to ask is, what's the pain? What pleasure? Why do they need to seek the pleasure? And that's why it's important that if we have children, for example, who are getting into drugs, sometimes I see parents saying, oh, they're getting into drugs, so they are beaten, they are ridiculed, amesomewa. But the thing is, we need to get deep and ask, what is this child going through? What are they going through? What is making them want to take the drugs or the substance? It's not normal, okay? Sometimes I look at, I've been looking at how people are taking drugs and alcohol and substance in the village, like where I grew up. My brother was sending me a picture of, there's a project we are doing at home. So anytime a vehicle comes, a truck comes with material, so my brother takes pictures and he says we are offloading the cement, the sand. And I can see young people, young boys, that maybe I left when they were babies, they were breastfeeding. I'm now seeing them and they are drunk in the morning. They are drunk and they are helping to offload the cement so that they can get 50 shillings, go back to drinking. And I really felt so sad. So I'm looking at those children who are breastfeeding just the other day. But then I realized that their fathers were literally drunk all through. Most of their fathers, not all. Most of their fathers were drunk all through. And these fathers, their own fathers were drunk all through. In fact, by the time the child was conceived, the father was drunk that morning when the child was conceived. So this child has been raised in drunkenness. So I was even saying, oh, these children, this generation, people have been running away from their stress and depression and what, and just going into alcohol. And I'm like, now, if a child who is 18, 19, even some 14-year-old, they are drinking, they are not in school, what's going to happen, really, with this generation? It's really sad. And some of them are married, and they have children who are going to end up the same pattern. It's really sad. So drugs, substance use, it's important to always understand what is making this person get into drinking. Most of the time, they are trying to run away from a pain, okay? So let me share preventive behaviors. What can we do? Then I can allow your questions and comments. And as I said, I want to focus more on what we can do ourselves before we look at other people. Now, what we need to do is that we need to learn to think optimistically. Think optimistically. Think more positively about life. And don't avoid responding as a victim. Avoid responding as a victim. Someone was telling me yesterday, someday, they were telling me how their child is joining university, and with the new reforms and the school fees is a lot. They don't have money like that. So the person was telling me, I'm so stressed, I can't even eat. I'm actually sick, I'm not even sleeping. So I can understand, because I also have a child who is joining university, so I can understand what the person is saying. So I was just thinking and asking, okay, so you're already sick as we are speaking. That's why you've not been able to work, because you're sick. Then you're staying the whole night thinking about how your child is going to go to university. For how many days are you going to be like that, not sleeping, thinking? It's going to make you more sick. You'll get admitted. You need money. The child is going to go to university. They need money. There's no money. So are you seeing how it's a cycle? So in my mind, I was like, okay, can we then think more optimistically? Can we think like victors as opposed to victims? How does a victim think? A victim thinks like, oh, now with all these things, it's a mess. We don't have money. We don't have food. Now what can we do? It's the economy. It's the president. It's the country. I blame nani nini. Just like that. Pity party, it ends. But a person who thinks like a victor, they'll say, okay, so this is where we are at now. We require this much money. What can we do? What options do we have? So I was telling this parent, can the child, because the parent actually told me, I'm confused, I'm paralyzed. We are just there, just waiting for the 28th when the child is supposed to report. I said, no, let the child go to the cyber. They are in the village. Let them go to the cyber. Let them go to the website, apply for help loan. Let them go to the county, see if they can get some bursary. Talk to a few friends, see what you can do. The parent said, oh, thanks, we will see that. Because I said, you sit here, 28th comes, you won't have anything. Then the person is asking, so how much do you think they'll get if they apply for loan? I said, we don't know. You just try. Sometimes you've seen whereby when you are telling people, try this, maybe apply for bursary, then they start asking you, how much am I going to get? No, that's trying to be in control. You can never be in control of the future. Your role is to apply, then at least you live and say, I tried. And sometimes you can apply and you get it. So do you be more optimistic? Don't think like what can I do? Sometimes I have seen people who even, they have the capacity to do something, but they start telling you, oh, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing. Sasa mimi, there's nothing I can do. And you're looking at them and you're wondering, really, there's nothing you can do? You can't do anything. They just wait. They're just there waiting. Like the man at the pool of Bethesda, John chapter 5, the one who was there for 38 years. When Jesus is asking him, do you want to be made whole? Instead of the man saying, yes, he says, me, I've been lying here. There is nobody when the pool is troubled. There is nobody to throw me in the pool. And Jesus said, rise up, pick up your bed and walk. So some of us are waiting for 38 years by the pool of Bethesda for someone to come and throw us when the pool is disturbed. And Christ is just asking, what do you want? So you are talking about people when you just need to say, Jesus, I just need this. You pick up your bed. It was very easy for Jesus. You can read that verse. I think I've preached more sermons from that chapter than any. And when we are going somewhere to preach, my son said, don't preach about that one. Don't preach about that one. So I'm avoiding to read because my son is here. He knows I've read that chapter. I've highlighted it, so I won't read it. But I'm asking the church members to read because it's one of my favorite chapters, John chapter 5. So the man is lying there, 38 years. Then he's saying, me, I have no one. Jesus could have easily have told the man, come, or held his hand. Jesus never held his hand. He told, rise up, pick up your mat. The very thing the man was not able to do for 38 years, Jesus told him to do it, okay? So that is the thing. So when you think optimistically, you don't respond as a victims. The way we say we mourn, but we don't mourn like those who have no hope. We mourn like those who have hope. We know that we can wake up for a better tomorrow. In fact, one of the things that I hear in my line of duty that really makes me feel so sad is when I'm talking to people who have been victims for long, like people who have been in domestic violence for long. It's interesting because sometimes I talk to people who are domestic violence victims. They are not educated. They're in the village. They have nothing. And they will tell me, I have nowhere to go. Okay, it may make sense. Now, I come to the urban area. I talk to a victim of domestic violence, employed, earning a 6-figure salary. They have a job. They're educated, master's, PhD. And they tell me the same thing. And they will tell me, yesterday I didn't sleep. I was chased by a panga or a whatever. And my partner, it could be the husband, the wife, it could be either. He threatened to kill me or she threatened to kill me. I slept outside. So I say, so what are you planning to do? Because when somebody has threatened to kill you, they will for sure kill you. It's a matter of time. So I say, so what are you planning to do? And the person tells me, I have to stay because I have nowhere to go. Ati what? Or they say, because of the children, I have nowhere to go. Then I said, tell me again, how much are you earning? The person is earning 6 figures. And the first number is not 1, it's not 2. 6 figures, I'm telling you, true story, not 1, not 2. They are earning. And they will say, I have nowhere to go. Nowhere to go? Then I normally say, what if, when your abuser dies, where will you go? When your abuser dies, where will you go? Or before you met your abuser, where were you? You can't go there wherever you are. So you can see it more of, today it wasn't about domestic violence. I'm just giving us an example because people have been victimized for so long, they have taken the victim identity. That even when the man is being asked, what do you want? He does not even imagine that, there is a chance that he can rise up. Him is destined to lie there for 38 years. So there are people who have taken a victim identity from their own families. You were raised to know, sisi ni wale maskini, sisi tumeteseka, sisi tuko na shida, tuko hivi. Oh, I was being told of a story of a man who had properties. When he would travel to Mombasa, he had wealth and properties, true story. But he had this victim poverty mindset. He would travel to Mombasa. He can take a flight, but he used to take a bus. Now, he would carry sweet potatoes, ngwashe boiled, and a thermos of tea he would carry to go to Mombasa with those ones so that he doesn't have to buy something on the way. I'm telling you, it's a true story. I'm not exaggerating. So he carries a small thermos of tea and sweet potatoes kwa bus. This is someone who has properties. He can take a what? He can take a flight. So one time he was going. Then he alighted from the bus. It's a sad story. As he was crossing the road, he was hit. Crossing the road, he was hit. Unfortunately, the properties he had, the wife and the children didn't know because he had hidden the documents because, someone can finish you. If people know how much you have, they can kill you. I won't finish that story. But I am telling you, there are people who have internalized a victim mindset that every time they find themselves in a situation, you normally think, now me, what can I do? Sisi tunateseka tu. As we have problems, So if you see, we need to learn to think optimistically. That's how we manage our minds. Okay? Number 2 is develop your self-esteem. Develop your self-esteem by reflecting on your strengths and your accomplishments. When you reflect on your strengths and your accomplishment, it's not being proud. In fact, Ellen White says I think the book is Mind, Character, and Personality. She says, the Lord is disappointed when his people put a low estimate on themselves. The Lord is disappointed when his people, the people that he shed his blood for, they put a low estimate on themselves. So you see some people, they put themselves so low. You need to develop your self-esteem by celebrate your achievements, your accomplishments, and your strengths. There are people who go for a job interview or they're going for something and they're being asked, okay, so how much would you want to be paid? And what they say, you are looking at them, you are like, no. One time I was employing a house help, and so I called her. I told her I would like to give you a job. Then I asked her, how much would you want to be paid? And she tells me some amount. I said, no, surely, no. She said, if you just pay me that, I'll come. I said, no, I'll pay you more than that. And she couldn't believe. Because she said, where I was being paid so little, that's why I left. So I told her, no, you don't ask for that amount. You're working every day, almost day and night, and then you're asking for this amount. Of course, I know she was coming from somewhere. But a lot of us put a very low estimate on ourselves. I'm just wondering, this may not sound good, But sometimes I wonder, when I see people, I see Christians, someone has been employed at a job. There may be an example like, allow me to just use a random example. Maybe you are employed as a cashier, a bank teller. There is nothing wrong. But do you think you can be my age and you're still a cashier? Okay, maybe you can. But you know, there's an age that reaches when your mind is not as fast because there are many other things you're thinking about. So you're employed at your 22 as a cashier. And you're just there, hey, you know, I'll work, I retire as a cashier or as a bank teller. You know, there's a reason why you don't see tellers who are elderly, mature. Some might have been promoted, but some of them are retired early. Yeah, then some are retired, they go home and die because they didn't know any other life other than being a teller. You know, there are some positions, some jobs, you know, and sometimes I remember my children were telling me sometime about a teacher in their school, and I've seen many teachers like that, nothing against teachers. They were telling me of a teacher who was employed in their school. This teacher has taught a particular subject. Most of the time it's humanities. For 30 years in the school. Same job, same position, living in the same house in the school compound. And the teacher celebrates that for having faithfully served from the time she was employed. Okay, there are many stories like that, so I'm not talking about a particular teacher. For the many years, the teacher was employed in her 20s in that school, teaching that subject, akapewa nyumba. They have stayed in that school. They have taught for 30-something years. Now they have a few years to retire in that school. So I looked, I said, is this what they want for their life? Like for real? No. Hiyo si kawaida. I told you that a human being is curious. A healthy human being, unless you have been made to feel like you cannot amount to much. So a normal, healthy let me not say normal. A healthy human being wants better. You know, you are looking for better things. Even if, you are cashier, something, you're looking at how can I be the manager of this store? You know, I've learned I can be the manager. That's how a person thrives mentally. But when a person is in this, do you now understand why somebody will retire and get depressed? Because they were teaching, that was their life. They were just teaching that subject 30 years. Then they retire. Then when you visit them in retirement, anashinda akiongea the way their subject in 1975 was the best performed in the county. Give us a break now. Can we talk of other things? I was the best teacher. 1975, surely. Tumechoka, we are tired. So you see that kind of thing? So you can see the person had an identity in what they were doing. Never as a healthy human being, never accept to be defined by a role. Never say, me, I'm a teacher. It's okay to be a teacher. I'm a nurse. It's okay. You do nursing. You do teaching. You can change. And don't let people say, oh, but I thought you were a teacher. You know, now you're doing something. Of course, you change. You were a teacher back then, but you're not. You were a nurse. Let me stop using teacher now because people may think now, okay, my two sisters are teachers. Let me change that. You know, when I go back to my high school and I see the same teachers who taught me subjects and they are there, I just look, I'm like, okay, if this is what you want, that's fine. But please don't be there and you're bitter and you're beating students. Please. You don't be bitter. Don't be bitter and you're just beating our children because you're bitter. You can do better, okay? So anyway, this is the point. Don't ever take a role and then you are bragging for faithfully serving in that position for 35 years. You are employed as a church secretary. You are there every day for 35 years until you retire. Then we throw a party for you. Then when you're going, it's like you don't know anything. You're like, so what am I? Have nothing. Then you suddenly just sit under a tree and wait to die. When you can actually rebrand yourself and be something and be somebody else, okay? So you need to develop your self-esteem. Know that even if you're doing something now, it's not the same thing that you're going to be doing some years later. You can be something else. You can be different even tomorrow. You just decide, I'm now a painter. Not I'm now doing painting, I'm doing music. It's something, think like that. That is how you keep getting better every day. Number 3, find support in people. Surely not everybody can be wanting to finish you. There are people, there are strong support groups, even online. When you start listening, people say it's normal. Like now, we were talking with Rose, and where is the other lady you were talking with? Oh, you are there. Please remind me your name. Josephine, yeah. Josephine, Rose, and I were talking about parenting teenagers and young adults, because that's what we are going through. And so we're talking about certain things I'm experiencing and certain things she's experiencing and she has also experienced. And we're like, this is normal, because sometimes these people shock you, my friend. And you're thinking, am I the only one? What is this? Because you thought somebody has passed well, they'll go to university, they study this course. Then people have a different agenda. There is another young man I know, I was giving them an example that he performed excellent, had a clean A. So obviously, he went to do medicine. After the first year, he looked, he said, I don't see my life in a hospital with sick people for the rest of my life. And it makes sense. Like, I understand what he was saying. He said, no. And why should I even sit in front of somebody who doesn't understand even his own notes to vomit the notes to me? I'm using my own words. He didn't say that. He said, no, first of all, I want to study online. So the parents said, okay, online. But now, can you really study medicine online? He said, no, I'm not doing medicine. So what do you want to do? He gave a course. So I won't give the name of the course, but it will surprise you. It's very far away from that medicine. So the child is, fortunately, the parents are they're very aware, they're very self-aware, they're forward-thinking. They said, it's fine, we'll support you. So the child is now studying online, a course maybe like acrobatics, something like that. You're laughing. Those are the realities. Because the thing is, do you want to have a depressed, suicidal child because you're making them do something for you? So they're supporting the child. So I was talking to the parents and they said, yeah, we are supporting the child. He's doing that. I told them, you're rare parents. Because most parents will want to force. But then now you will force for what? Will you even succeed? Because this is an adult. It's a human being with their own mind. Sometimes when we force our children to be compliant to us, we make them also to be compliant to peer pressure. Because you want to make them comply whether they like it or not. They go out there when they're having peers who are influencing them, they can't say no. Do you understand? So you can't tell them to go out and be strong when you have not encouraged them to be strong at home. And I'm not talking about disrespect, but I'm saying sometimes when they are talking, and you need to listen first of all to what they're telling you. I read about a story of a parent who was a pastor, minister in the church. So of course his hair is well shaven and everything. So he went for mission, he came back, he went for some time. So when he came back, the son had grown hair. Then he said, young man, what is this hair doing in my house? The son said, I like the hair. The father said, go and shave that hair or. So the son was like, no, I'm not shaving. Guess what the father did? The father jumped on that boy, held him to the ground, like Alimurukia, held that boy to the ground. It's a true story. He shaved that boy's head. When the moment the boy got out of that ground, he left home. He went and joined a gang down the street. So he started taking drugs. He wasn't taking drugs. Joined that gang. They had to take drugs for them to survive the cold of the night on the street. The child stayed on the street. The father, when he came back to his senses and he talked to people, he started going for the son. He started going for the son, looking for the son. The son didn't go back. He said, I'm not coming. Unfortunately, the boy came back. The father died of stress. The father was stressed. He couldn't live with that because people were telling him, no, you did the wrong thing. You don't do that. It was hair, just hair. Now the boy went into, anyway, sadly the father died. That's when the boy came back and he came back home. He stopped taking drugs, so he's the one who shares that story. But you can see that act the father did trying to shave the boy's hair. So I say that because it's a real thing, and most of us who are talking were saying, our children, as they're getting to teenage, they want to be different from you. So if you're wearing long clothes, they want to wear short ones. If as a father you're shaving, your child doesn't want to shave because they want to be different. They're looking at you and they're seeing you're old-fashioned. So they will, as much as possible, do the opposite of what you're doing. If you're wearing suits, they will not wear suits. They will wear T-shirts to church. They do, some of them. And some of us want to focus on the T-shirt, and yet the child is in church. Like, can't you even be happy they are in church at least? They are wearing the T-shirt, they are in church. But is it the suit that is praying to God? Is it? Some of us wake up in strange beds and we still wear our suits and come to church. You see? So instead of thanking God your child is in church, you're talking about T-shirt. So we literally push our young people because of T-shirts, okay? And some parents, I see they are raising hell because of hair. I remember there's a time in my church, ambassadors, all of them, the girls, their hairs were reaching here. They fixed some things on their heads and they were reaching here, heavy things. So for me, I was more concerned, like, isn't this too heavy for you? Like even the headache, even sleeping. So I could ask them, how do you shower? Like, how do you even tie that hair to shower? Like, it's too heavy and it will pull your hairline and you'll get a headache. Like, that's what I'm thinking about. But some of us begin to say how it's demonic. You know, you start saying that is demonic things and what. So the child, because we have said they are demonic, we push them away, okay? I don't even know which point I was talking about. Anyway, I was talking about finding support. Like sometimes when you listen, when you talk to people, you actually get encouraged. So when we were talking and we were talking with Rose, I was telling them about hair. I was telling them that I remember my son used to tell us when he was in school, every time he used to go to shave his hair, he would cry. Like, he used to say it's a sign of oppression, you know, and I am like, okay, this guy is becoming a freedom fighter. But he had no choice. He would shave hair but cry. So every time he would try to shave it up kidogo, but when he goes to school, he's meant to shave down, but he would cry. So I knew the moment this guy finishes school, he will not shave. So, but then I was like, okay, because the hair grows too fast, he should have been here today. I think he'll come next time. I said, because the hair grows too fast, maybe he will shave it. So he comes home a few months, the hair is a lot. The hair has grown. Even managing it is a problem. So one time I'm at work and then he sends me a message. It's like, my hair is growing too fast and it's a lot. I'm like, yeah, but then you can consider trimming it, you know, because I'm like, yeah, I told him, yeah, you have the genes of a lot of hair, trim it. He says, actually, no, I'm not trimming the hair. I say, so what do you plan to do? He says, I'm locking it. I say, you're locking it? Yeah, I'm locking it so that it can be easily manageable. Dreadlocking it so that it can be easily manageable. I said, so what do you want? He said, so I need some money. I said, oh, I don't have a budget for that actually. I don't have a budget for you to lock your hair. He said, no problem. I'll Google it. So now I said, okay, you want to do that? So he said, I'll Google how to lock my own hair. So before I leave work, he takes pictures. He says, I've locked it. I said, how did you do it? He said, I have Googled. I said, okay, sawa, that's fine. So he says, I've learned an easy way to lock my hair. So I said, that's fine. So I come home, I say, do you realize what this means? Because I know you are a good person, you're straightforward. It's just hair, and it's your natural hair. But then you see the perception, like people would have when they see you this way. He said, I don't care. Then he goes further, he says, how was Samson's hair? I said it was 7 locks. Said, when you see the pictures of Jesus and Noah and Abraham and what? How is their hair? I said, it looks like they had a lot of hair. So he said, you've been telling me about your grandfather, whose hair I took after. He took after my grandfather's hair. You've been telling about your grandfather, whose hair I took after. How was your grandfather's hair? Said it was a lot. He had heavy hair and beard. He said, so what's your problem? I said, no, there's actually no problem, but you know, you become a suspect when you are keeping this. Then he would use my own words and say, is that a feeling or is it a fact? I said, okay, it's just the way I feel. So I said, okay. So now when I look and we talk with parents and I tell them, I'm looking at that hair and it's growing. So I said, but it's going to get on your feet. So will you have... So I keep calling him Dedan Kimathi. I say, you know, we have a Dedan Kimathi here, Mau Mau now here. So I say, are you going to keep it grow until it's very long? He says, yeah. So I said, I had to use a different strategy. I said, it's going to get very heavy, and it will be hard for you to manage it when it's very long. He said, so he was telling the brother yesterday, I'm going to cut and give them to you. When they grow, I'll cut and give them to you so that you can fix it. So he's telling me there's a market for dreadlocks, natural. Who knows? Anyway, if you can look at a situation and yeah, so I'm saying find support in people. And many parents don't understand when their children are telling them, I'm not going to university. They say, I'm going to YouTube University. You know, there are a lot of young people, they go to YouTube University. But you know, these young people have a point. What you need in life is skills and networks. Let me tell you. Skills and networks, they have a point. So, what I do personally, I say, young man, you need networks. Most of my networks, I made them in university. Now, because you have an opportunity to go to university, take these 4 years, establish networks. Because I know if you start insisting go to university, they'll tell you there are many graduates who have no jobs, and I can actually get a job without going to university. And that university of yours, what has it helped you with? Because you are here telling me you have no money every day. You know, so I tell them, no, you are not actually going to get a degree to get a job, but you will establish networks in the university, and you will also mature. So when I tell them that, he says, yeah, that makes sense. Now I'm going to go to university, you know. But if you begin using the old tactics of saying, mtoto ameharibika, hataki kusoma, this child doesn't want to go to school, and you think you are alone, you will suffer. But when you talk to people, they say, mine didn't want to go to university, and I had to tell them they can go so that they get networks, and they went, you know. Then you talk to them and you realize I'm not alone, okay? Support. So whatever stage you are in your life, whether you are parenting a young child, you are parenting adolescents, or whether you are parenting adults, whatever, you can actually, there are support groups, literally, online and offline, and they make you realize that I'm not alone. It really is very encouraging. The other one I would like to say is keep physically active. When you are active physically, you release feel-good hormones. You release chemicals that make you feel good, that improve your mood, okay? If like you're feeling so discouraged, don't sit and watch TV. Don't sleep. Go out and walk. Even when you don't feel like, go out and walk, go out and run, do push-ups. Just do something. Skip. Do hula hoop. Do something active. Number 5 is face your guilt and your shame. If there's something that you have done, because we have all done something, and you're feeling guilty or you're feeling ashamed, don't run away from your guilt and your shame. Face it. Ask God to forgive you. If you have wronged someone, ask them to forgive you. You know, somebody told me the other day, I don't know whether it's true, that African men don't apologize. They just buy for you a kg of meat or soya. Is that true? Buying someone a kg of meat or a kg of soya is not an apology. You have to apologize by word of mouth. You have to use your words to apologize and also act right. Because the most effective apology is a changed behavior. You can't say, Basi, sorry, Bas, sorry. Then you keep doing the same thing. So if you are having guilt and shame over things you have done in the past, face it and ask for forgiveness and act differently. Number 6 is take care of your physical health. Sleep, get to bed, be in bed for 8 hours, sleep for 7. Be in bed for 8 hours, sleep for 7. What do I mean? Have a routine. So you can get to bed, spend maybe 30 minutes reading or relaxing to get yourself to sleep. Then when you wake up in the morning, don't jump out of bed. Just sit up, reflect a bit, drink a glass of water. Yeah? Don't jump up immediately. You're jumping with the alarm. So you just have a routine. So be in bed 8 hours, sleep for 7 hours minimum. And then, of course, you are Adventist, so you know about healthy diet and drink water. I think that one, you know, I won't overemphasize. And obviously, keep off drugs. Don't believe that there's a pill for every ill. I'm having a headache. Let me take a painkiller. Sometimes you just need to drink water and sleep. You're having a headache, drink water and sleep. It's not always that you have to pop a pill. The other one is carry out humanitarian services. Carry out humanitarian services. Help somebody with no expectation. The help that we offer because we are expecting someone to reciprocate, that's not humanitarian. The help that protects your mental health is the help that you extend to somebody with no expectation. A person who would never have the capacity to reciprocate. That is the kind of help we are talking about. Because by you actually helping, you are telling your mind that I'm capable, I'm able to do this. You remove yourself from the victim-receiver space to a space where you are a giver. You are the one who is blessing people. And all of us can actually give. So please don't tell me you have nothing to give. There's a lady who told me that she went to work abroad. She didn't have anything. She was poor. She was a single mom to a child. So as she was working abroad, she really liked to help, but she didn't have the money at the time. So what she did, she used to go when people are having weddings or funerals, she would go and wash the dishes, arrange the seats. Like her, she just every time, because she didn't have the money. So she'll say, by the way, what can I do? So when people are doing the funeral, she'll be cooking the food, arranging the seats, serving the guests. So there was one man who watched her. The man watched what she was doing. She was not seeing, she was busy. This man watched her and he felt, this is the lady I want to marry. So he watched her, then he found out where she goes to church. She's an Adventist. He found out the church she goes to. So one time she's coming from church, he wasn't an Adventist. He met her, then he's saying hi to her. She's like, who is this? Like, she's wondering. Then the person continued talking to her. He would come to church or whatever she is and everything, shortening the story. Eventually, this man just told her, I've been watching you. Like when things are happening, I see you working, minding your own business. You just finish the work and you go home. And I love you, or I like you, and if you can consider, of course, marrying me. She kept saying no, but eventually she married this man. Long story short, while she shared with me the story, she said she married this man, and when the man died, he died some time back, she discovered that he had done something she never expected. This man had gone to his workplace without telling her. He had put an insurance for her. And he had said that when he dies, this lady should continue getting a certain amount of money every month until her death. For her, by the time the husband died, she was so broken. She lives abroad. She's an African. She had thought of just coming back home because she had retired and she wasn't working. Until she was told, no, your husband had actually taken an insurance. He said, in case he dies and you're here, you'll continue getting a certain amount of money monthly until you die. So this lady was telling me, for her, she actually believes that this person was given to her by God, because she wasn't looking or thinking about getting married. She was just busy serving. She was just busy working. So she said for her, even when she has no money and something happens, she knows she can do something. She arranges the seats, she serves, and she washes the plates. That is her contribution to somebody. So even if you have no money, you can always do something. You can always do service. Now, the other one is keep a hopeful attitude. Keep a hopeful attitude. Even when things don't look like they are looking up for you, you can always expect a better tomorrow, because we don't know who holds we don't know. How does that song go? I don't know about tomorrow, but I know who holds tomorrow, and I know who holds my hand. Yeah? And Ellen White also says that we have no fear of the future unless we fear how the Lord has led us in the past. So you know the Lord has been leading you, so you can live with hope for tomorrow. Number 9, seek natural environments. Seek natural environments. Mental illnesses love urban environments. Concrete, cement. Mental illness thrives in concrete. If you can get a natural environment like that, the better. Take a walk, sit in a natural environment as much as you can. Number 10 is bring the spiritual facet to your life. Engage in music, meditation on the word of God, reading scripture. So the spirituality that protects people from mental illness is not external spirituality. It's not about, my church said, my church this, my church this. It's about what's the relationship you have with God. So it's not the religious practices that we do, but it's about personally, what does God say? Can you really say that we have an anchor? Can you really say that I know whom I have believed? Can you, like Job, say, though he slay me, yet I will praise him? Can you really say that? Can you say like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that our Lord will save us? But even if he doesn't, we are not going to worship the king. We will still stay in the fire. Can you say that? That is the faith that protects you from mental illness. Not the faith of, according to my church, this and this is what happens. I want to pause here and take any questions or comments. If there are any questions or comments, feel free. And if you want to write, you can write. We have a few minutes. We can do that. Someone can help us with a roaming mic. Do we have any question or comment? Okay, yeah, Jennifer. That's very important, because many times, especially in church, we can be so entitled. We think that we will sit, we support nobody, we do nothing. Then when we are facing something, we want the whole church to actually come and rally and support. Sometimes we have even seen church. I remember in a certain church, somebody had been disfellowshipped because of something they did. So they were no longer a member of that church. But one thing about this person, they always used to contribute. Like even when they were disfellowshipped, when somebody, a church member, has an issue, they were always contributing. Wait, the day they had a challenge, people contributed. Like they were no longer members of that church, an Adventist church, but they received overwhelming support. But some people who are still members of that church would go through something and they would not receive as much support. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just sharing. Because somebody is going to begin telling me, so are you telling us to be disfellowship? No. I'm just giving a scenario. So something like that. I remember my colleague lost her mother to cancer. And the mother had been in hospital for a while, so she had accumulated a heavy bill. So we were in a group and contributing. I've never seen something like that in my life. Do you know people over-contributed? They had to stop the contributions. Have you ever seen something like that? I'm telling you, she had been ailing with cancer for years, so she died with a heavy bill. Her husband had also died. So these children were orphaned, although they are now adults. People were contributing in that WhatsApp group. The son just said, the son wrote that verse. There's that verse in the Bible of when people were contributing money for building of the temple, when they were told, which king told them, brethren, it's enough. He quoted that verse. Who told them? Moses told them. I wasn't sure. Moses told them, brethren, imetosha. The brother quoted that verse. He said, brethren, we have enough money to clear our mother's bill, to give her a decent send-off. Stop. People continued contributing. Then he said, brethren, I have told you we don't need more money. Please, now just come for the funeral. We don't need more money. People kept giving. I told them, this is something I've never seen, because normally we beg, we plead, we threaten, we do everything, we squeeze to get money, but they were not even making anyone pay. Money was being received, they just update. People kept giving. I've never seen that. And I was like, I'm so sure this lady was a giver, the children are givers. And the people who are giving are not, the family is Adventist, most of them, but it wasn't people from church anyway who were giving. People from church, yes, but people from all over were just giving. So that's when I just said that this is powerful. She was not necessarily having so much money, but she must have been showing up. So even if you're in church, show up for people. With nothing, just show up and clean the dishes and just send a message and says, how are you doing? I'm praying for you. How can I help you? I can buy for you something from the market. You know, you need some shopping, they just send you. You go, you bring something for them. You know, you have children, I can watch over the kids. Maybe there's something you need to do, bring them to my house, I play with them, then you go. Yeah, so we cannot also be so entitled because you're in church and you think people owe you nothing. In fact, somebody was saying another time that even if Christ only died for us, that's everything. He owes you nothing, but you owe your life to Christ. Yeah, so thank you. Okay, yes, Rose?
A particular thing that not everyone else can be able to do. So let's not underrate ourselves. You know, that is what makes you feel like, I'm not fit, I cannot fit. You can still fit because I'm sure God has given you something that you can bring out in a very strong way. I also want to mention this one of supporting with the support group. You know, sometimes I want to bring it up like, you know, sometimes you have identified someone and thought that this person is my supporter. For example, I'm undergoing some issues at my family, and you know, they are intimate issues, they are personal. And then I identify you as someone to support me, okay? And then I come here, Rose, you know, this is what I'm going through, this and this and this. Within no time, all the information I've given you is already everywhere. You know, I want us to be that are people that someone can be able to trust. When someone is trusting you with a particular information, it is yours. It's not for everyone. Because if someone gets to hear, for example, I picked Elder Dan and I told Elder Dan, you know, Elder Dan, there's something I'm going through, this and this and this and this. And within no time, this information is everywhere. You know, when I'm going to meet this other one, who is this? Evelyn, I tell him, Evelyn, you know, I told the guy to sort me out on this. And here, it is everywhere. You see now, instead of him supporting me, you know what is happening now? I'm losing that trust that I had on him. And you know, I'll not be helped. And someone else who has been looking at him for help may not go to him for that help. So I just want to encourage us to, is it encouraging or what? Ask us to be confidential, especially when we have been identified to be the support of a person, okay? And then, you know, when you are speaking out, you are not weak. In fact, you are strong. So some people feel like when you have an issue and you're coming out to say, this is what I'm going through. Like, when I was speaking, when we were sharing with Rose, I was like, your own son is perfect. I could not imagine, I've been imagining, maybe, when I look at my son and I look at Rose, I say, oh, Rose, you should be better than myself. You see? But when I realized, okay, so we are struggling with the same issues, so we can be able to make it. So what am I saying? I'm saying that you are not weak. You are not weak when you are sharing the problem that you have. In fact, that is you are strong, and that is what will help you now to become a victor at the end of the day.
Thank you so much for that. And just maybe to make up a few comments in line with what you've said. What was the first point you had mentioned? I was talking about self-esteem. And could it even be that the fact that you feel you don't have enough money, self-esteem is even the cause? Yeah, as in it could even be the cause because you feel like you're not worthy, like you don't belong. Each and every one of us, we have something that we can give. And sometimes also I wanted to talk about the role of parents. As parents, the way we speak to our children and the way it was spoken to us, it made us to have a low self-esteem. Sometimes we make our children feel they're only worthy when they are performing. Like if a child is not performing, they are seen like they are not worthy. So we make our children to give us esteem. So we make them to be performance-based so that they can give us esteem. So that could be why sometimes if a child says they are not doing this course or they are not going to this university, we are angry because of ourselves, not because of the child, but you're angry like, how can my own child do this? So we need to know that our identity is not in our children or our spouses. When our spouses are doing something, you start feeling like, oh, but that's not you. That's them and it's their choice, okay? Really, we need to stop, especially women most of the time. We over-identify ourselves with our children or our husbands. You think that if they are doing this, what will it say of me? But those are them and that's a choice they have made, okay? Then the other thing I also wanted to say is, when you're sharing something with someone as a support system is somebody where you have an equal power relationship. It is not somebody who is at a higher power. You know why? Because if there's somebody who you are, looking up to, it's like you're the one who is being helped. How do I put it? And it has to be, let me use the word reciprocal disclosure. You cannot go to someone, you even want to show them the graves of your ancestors when you don't know about their parents. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like you go, you open up, you're giving them too much intimate details. You have got no idea whether they have a spouse. You are giving them your intimate details. No, you don't do that. You have to disclose yourself slowly as they also disclose themselves. So you listen. Let's listen. Let's not be too quick to offload information to someone when they are not disclosing. When you see, you talk, they talk. You talk, they talk. So you are disclosing. So you don't put yourself in a vulnerable position. But when you give too much information to somebody you barely know, you actually give them so much power over you. So you put yourself in a vulnerable place where that information can be used to do what? To hurt you. Okay? And sometimes also I wanted to say that this happens, I see it a lot in church. We look at people, just by looking at them, you think they are better than you. But you don't know. You are just looking, and then anyway, what is being better, by the way? Like, what are you using to measure who is better than the other? Really? So we look at people, we just see this. One time there is a youth who talked to me, and many of them have talked to me about it. It's not a particular one. Some youths actually have shared with me. They were born and they were raised in the church. And they have told me, like the girls were telling me that, like one of them told me she has conducted 3 abortions. Nobody knows. One of the abortions, she conducted it during divine hour. Because divine hour is the only time she could leave the church without her parents noticing. Do you understand what I'm saying? This youth, like, the way in the family we all come to church and we sit here. the parents are active in church, especially at least one parent. And during divine hour, the parent is very active, collecting offering. So she figured the only time she can conduct this abortion is during divine hour. And this particular youth would come to church with the long clothes, I'm telling you. Long, wide. The way you make your kitenge outfit and use the entire 6 yard to make the entire fabric that covers you from head to toe. So this person, identity withheld, could only sneak out of church during divine hour, rush, do the abortion, and go back home. So lunchtime, the child told the parents, I was feeling a little tired, so I had to go home for lunch. So the child goes, has lunch. The following day, they had an exam, I think on Monday. The following day, they had, I think, a church board meeting. They had to attend because they were very active in children ministry. Monday, they had an exam, and they have just conducted an abortion. I've had severally. So the point I'm saying also that us as parents, what I'm learning is sometimes we look at externalities. You look at external things. In fact, I was telling my son the other day that I need you to be very aware that when you show up in church with dreadlocks, and I know you are one of the healthiest and most straightforward guys I've ever known, not because you are my child, but I told him I know vegetarian, it doesn't take soda, it doesn't take sugar, it doesn't take wheat, so when you're eating bread, mandazi, he doesn't eat those things, very healthy, very disciplined and everything. I told him, you'll show up and people will look at you and imagine drugs, promiscuity, which is not true because we know. But someone else will show up in a suit, waking up from a strange bed, but as human beings, the Bible says as human beings, we look at the person the way they look. God looks at the heart. So we look sometimes and we judge. Just like the way we look at a family, you see me, I'm coming together with my husband, we are seated together, and you judge, you're like, what? Some of us. But that time, you have got no idea, an example, that those ones who are coming like that, they have fought the whole night. You've got no idea. Strange children in the forest. They have children all over the place. And so we also need to, the way we said, what would Jesus do? When Jesus would have looked at this woman dressed in this way, a prostitute, and just said, now this one, if it was me, I would not talk to her. If I wanted water, I can't ask water from a prostitute, surely. There must be somebody better, even a shepherd there to give me water, not this one. But this is the very woman that Jesus asked for water. So the way we see people, the way we judge people, a certain girl said she got a child in the church. Nobody could hold that child. They even refused to dedicate. Okay, did she say that part? Like they were reluctant to dedicate her child? And the women in the church, the moment she showed up after having disappeared for long, she showed up with the child. The women in the church were saying, now see what you have done. See the tabia, see the example you are giving our daughters. You've gone and you have given birth. And this girl had been suicidal. She had even attempted suicide when she gave birth. So for her, she had pulled herself to at least come to church after many months, almost a year of giving birth. She had pulled herself. She had tried suicide. She didn't die. She tried to kill her child. The child didn't die. She felt, God, for sure you have something for me. I'll pick my child, just go to church. Imagine she appeared with her child. The first thing she's being told, the way she's such a bad example. She put it on Facebook crying. Instead of celebrating, she has come back to church. We are telling her the way she's such a bad example. Imagine. And then this girl was even saying, do you know the way your husband has been hunting me, wanting to have an affair with me? Do you know? And then you are here saying the way I'm a bad example. To who exactly? And to what? Okay? So it's important for us also just to say, as we talk about, as we get into support group and hear people talking to us and everything, we need to be conscious that as human beings, we are limited in our judgment. The way you look at somebody and the way you think about them, that may not be it. And that may not be the way Jesus looks at that person. Okay? Yeah, I don't know whether there's one more before we end.
And asking for giving
and they have grown up feeling that this has to be done. Our youth were not there in the beginning. I wish you can mention a bit of that to highlight it to them, not because we have anything against them, but we want youth who can be able to face a reality and say, this is my situation, and I'm going to go with it as it is. In fact, from there, I'm often that not even get more support. Another thing which I would want to ask is about when we are supporting someone, maybe somebody somewhere outside there who we want to lift up. We don't want to keep on giving them things. We want them to be able to go fishing by themselves. At what point should we be able to say, no, now it is too much? Maybe it's a brother. Now, my sister atunisaidia. We go and decide wacha tulime pamoja, akishalima. Maybe mazao ni mazuri, but again next time, instead of plowing back, they come back again. It is a push. Okay, it's a situation where we find ourselves like in a whirlwind. We're not able to really disengage ourselves because you feel guilty. This is actually a family member. You want to lift that standard. But on the other hand, this family member is not lifting themselves up. At what point do you disengage and how do you disengage?
Yes. Yeah, so the part of youth here you mentioned, I was in Rwanda last month for camp meeting, and I was a youth speaker, so I was engaging with the youth. And I noticed something in that Adventist church, and I think in many churches I was told by one of the elders that the youth there marry at 40 years, 30-something, 40. So in my class, I had a number of youth who are over 35, you know. So they were even asking me now, do we belong to youth or what? Most of the youth, they are mature. They are mature youth. So as we were talking, they told me one of the hindrances of them getting married is because of the cost of the wedding. And you know the way French-speaking countries, can I say, the way they conduct their ceremonies is not like English-speaking countries. French-speaking countries, people are very extravagant. If people attend weddings, they have to make an outfit for every wedding. Like if you have 4 weddings in this church, for example, in 3 months, church members will make outfits for every wedding. It's not your wedding. You are not even playing any role, but you make an outfit for the wedding. Like I can't come tomorrow for Rose's son's wedding. Then next month again, I'm wearing the same dress for... people will see like, it's like you are despising this wedding. People who are wedding, you can't do that. You make an outfit. So people spend a lot of money. It's something that I find it so hard for me to wrap my head around. But that's how French-speaking countries are. And not that the people have the money, but they can even take a loan to make the outfit. You know, they can borrow from somewhere. So these young people are telling me how where they are really struggling is in terms of the wedding. It so much is required because they do their traditional wedding, then again they do in church, and there's food and outfit and dowry. It's so heavy. So that's why they delay. And so I was trying to ask them, what can happen if we decide to go against some of these things? Because it's not Bible. It's not Bible. Actually, even our church recognizes that you can do a traditional wedding. You can go with your ugali, your brown ugali. You go with whatever gift you do. The pastor can come to a traditional ceremony and pray for you. Did you know that? Our church recognizes that you don't have to do a white wedding. You can do whatever ceremonies you do in your village, whether it's your koito, whatever it is, and the pastor can come. The pastor should not refuse to come to your traditional wedding at home. Just dress the way you dress normally for your traditional things, and he will pray for you and give you a certificate. Yeah, it's not a requirement that you have to do a white colonial wedding. It's not. That's culture. It's not Bible. Yeah? So that maybe for youth they need to know that you don't have to do 2 weddings. You can have the traditional with the pastor there. Okay? So now, that's one thing they were telling me. And I was telling them that I know people who have wedded in church on Sabbath, and they are living happily ever after. I know people who have done away with the ceremony and everything. And they were getting so shocked because they were telling me when they think of the wedding, they are stressed. And now it's like a competition. Because if somebody had a wedding where even their faces were on the water bottle, everything, the wedding show thing, somebody else feels the standard is so high. And it's really stressing them, and they take loans. So even on the wedding day, they are stressed because they are seeing you eating the food, and they are seeing the loan they are going to pay. So it's really a lot of stress, yeah? So we're talking about how can you challenge some of these norms so that you don't continue living this way. let me tell you how I'm combining it with answering that question. Every time you're helping somebody, ask, by me extending this help, am I empowering or am I disempowering? Am I empowering or am I disempowering? If you have to find yourself providing food, shelter, clothing to an adult, somebody who is not sick or too old or too young, you are enabling and disempowering the person. Every adult should be able to provide for their own food, shelter, clothing. That's why I said, if someone is living at home, they are not ready to be married. Whether it's your daughter or your son, should not be married from your house. They should be married when they have gone somewhere, they have a roof over your head. It can't be that last month you are buying sanitary products for your daughter, then next month someone's son is marrying her. That's a child. They are not ready. They are not ready. You know, in fact, in Kisi, there's a word that is used. I don't know how you can translate it, but let me say it this way. Ogotacho mwana. Gotacho mwana is like when you release them, they can now take care of themselves. And we normally say, onye torugo tacho mwana, agogo tacha. You know, like if you don't release them, they will, how can you even translate? You know, they will eventually step on you. You know what tacha is like? You step on them, you're like, I'm done with you. You know, something like that. You support them from a distance, okay? So this is the thing that we need to, some of these things of us keeping on supporting, and it's a vicious cycle, it is a monster we have grown. We have grown that monster. It doesn't begin even for our brothers, our sisters at home. I mean that. It's not something that started. I can see how that monster was grown from a very early age. So they now become entitled and they want that, okay? So this is the thing. I'll give you through an example of something I did to a family member and it worked. This family member was asking for rent and food all the time. And anytime they don't have, they would threaten the way they are going to commit suicide. And of course you get worried and you give them. The person was married. Interestingly, they kept getting children. So, one time they got a child. So when they got a child, it was during COVID. And the person said the house is going to be locked and they have a newborn. And you see, I knew because the wife had gone through a C-section. So you know how you can be very vulnerable. So it's during COVID. He doesn't have the job had ended and they say they're going to be thrown out. I looked, I said, this is a monster we had grown, and it's not ending. So I said, so you can actually go ahead and have a child without consulting me. But when you get the child, it becomes my business to take care of the delivery and the child. Did you talk to me when you were going to get the child? I was being a bit rude, but I needed to. The person, of course, was offended. So I said, this is what I'm going to do. Because I know when somebody gives birth, they are very vulnerable. They need to breastfeed. I will support you for 6 months. I will help you with some rent, with food for 6 months so that the mother can eat and heal and breastfeed. For that reason, because I know if I don't support, this child will become our burden. The child needs to breastfeed to be attached to the parent and to grow up healthy. Okay? So I did that for 6 months. After 6 months, I said, now you have a family, you need to take care of your family's needs. Because I knew if I continue supporting, within the next year, another child will come. So I said, now, so what do you want to do? The person kept telling me, oh, if you want to help me, you can help me. I said, okay, we are not going down that path. So I talked to the wife. I said, what do you want? She said, I want to start a business. What business do you want? Remember, I'm not telling her what to do. And I'm not asking her I'm not giving her the idea of the business. You can't give the money and give the idea. So I said, what business do you want to do? The person said, I want to start this kind of business. How do you want to do it? She gave me a plan that made sense. So I said, how much money do you want? The person said something like 18,000. I said, I'll give you 20. So that in addition to that business, you can add a supplementary business. You see, like if you're saying, I want to sell omena, said you can also add sukuma wiki and onion and tomato so that you can have a full house. So the person said, okay. I gave the money. And as usual, as happens, the person disappeared. When you give, they disappear. After some time, the person comes back and says, now, can you top up? I need some capital to continue with the business. I said, for about 1 year, you've not talked to me. I gave you this amount of money, and out of the capital I gave you imebaki kidogo. Please help me understand, where did the other one go? If I gave you 18, now you're telling me you have 10,000, you need another 8. Tell me, where did the 8,000 go? Did you eat the stock? The person felt offended that I was asking questions. I said, I'm sorry, but you have to make do with this amount. Otherwise, I can't help you anymore. Was I worried? I was worried that because this person would threaten with suicide, I thought they are going to die of hunger because they have children and everything. Let me tell you, I think they blocked me, and it's a close family member. Let me tell you, 2 years later, they have not died. And when I looked at the status update of the lady, she had a beautiful photo with lipstick, red lipstick, a beautiful photo, looking better than even when I was supporting them. Another family member told me, oh, they were furnishing the house the other day. These are people who are dying. I realized I'm the one who was disempowering these people. When I gave them wings to fly and I refused to rescue them, they found a way. They are now furnishing their house. They have bought land, and they might be building in the land soon. Because the person realized there's no rescue coming. And I said, I remember at one point what I worried about was, what if the person decided to commit suicide? And I talked to somebody, and the person said, are you God? Are you God who knows when somebody is going to die? Don't you think you're giving yourself too much power that you don't have? You're not God. If somebody was going to die, they will die. It's not about you. And now when I look back, I feel ashamed because they haven't added another child, and they are doing well. And so sometimes we need to retire ourselves from the lives of other people by giving them wings. So the money you are giving, you are asking, if it's about the farm, you're going to implement whatever. Some people, because you give the money for the money to till the farm, they don't care. So they even let everything just go because they know that, you just gave money for fertilizer and everything. Yeah? But if you let them know that they're the ones who are sweating, who are doing it, they will actually do better. And yes, they may fail, but they will fail and they will rise up. So sometimes it's us who feel, sometimes I used to feel that way, that, oh, it's only me, I need to help. But what if you died today? You think everybody else will die? They will even thrive. They will even do better than when you were alive, I tell you. Then you get shocked. You say, I'm the one who was blocking. So sometimes you even block people from facing the consequences of their actions and learning to get better. And finally, maybe a comment I wanted to make on self-esteem that I forgot is, as parents and even older people, we need to, the way we address our children is critically important. You know, sometimes people call their children, they say, my kids. You know, you call your child a kid. A kid is a young one of a goat. Say, my kids, you know, my kids. And you use words like, just when they have done something wrong or they haven't done well, we use some words that really discourage, that really demean. And yet the words that a parent says to a child are so powerful. Even when you think the child is not doing well, even when they have not made the right decision, you need to know that you always take the side of your child. I'm not saying you enable evil like the way Aaron did. You don't enable, not Aaron, but Eli. You don't enable evil. But what you do is that you say, you know, I love you and I'm on your side. And if it's a moral issue, because some of the things are really not moral issues. Because like when I was telling my son, I said, really nothing wrong with these threads, but I don't think I have. Maybe you save money and go and make them. For me, I would not give you the money, but you look cute. And your hair looks good, but I may not give you the money. You know, so that way now the child feels you are on their side, even if you don't enable certain things, and you can give correction. And the correction will be taken because they know that you love them unconditionally. But when people feel like you only love them when they are good, you correct them even on something that is so, you're just correcting, but they take it very personal. And I think here, many times what I've seen like many fathers are really challenged when it comes to correcting their children in love. Many children feel like their fathers are only proud of them. From what they tell me, they feel like the fathers are only proud of them when they are doing well. You know, fathers make comments like, they tell the mother in front of the child, utaenda na mtoto wako. Ukianguka mtihani utaenda na mama yako. Imagine their fathers who make irresponsible statements like that. Ati umeanguka, we si wangu, umefanana na kwa mama. You know, ni mama kwa amekufunza. You know, a child is doing something, they're like, ni mama yao ndiye amewafunza hiyo tabia mbaya. You know something like that? You don't make such irresponsible statements to your child, because even the time you're correcting them and you're not siding with them, they know that you're not on their side. They will actually take it negatively. But when you support, sometimes I've listened to my sons giving me very outrageous things, like someone is telling me the way they want to quit school. You know, sometimes you're listening to a child, I'm not naming any names, but they're telling you they want to stop school because school is a prison. And I'm like, you know me, I'm an academician. So when you tell me you'll quit school, so first I get shocked, but then I say, it actually makes sense, by the way. School is not so interesting. But let's see, is there anything positive maybe about going to school? You know something. Already somebody sees, I can feel them. I'm like, actually school is so boring. Even me, I don't like going to work. I would rather just sit here and watch TV the whole day. But then you start thinking, okay, do you think there is anything positive about going to school? So somebody sees you already on their side. But if you say, ati, unataka kuacha shule, utaenda kwa street, ukwe chokora. You begin overreacting that way. The person takes the side, they become defensive, you're also defensive. And I think we have lost a lot of children and young people from the church because of the stand that we take as a church. I see sometimes even we have young people, maybe they're on drugs and what? They have drunk, but they have come to church. Then we chase them away. Then they want to sit at the front because they are drunk, unataka kumtoa nje. Because you are saying that, oh, it will be a bad influence. I don't think so. The bad influences are everywhere. Amekunywa pombe lakini amekuja. They have staggered to church. Instead of welcoming them, just giving them a meal, then they will remember the love. But if they come, they are drunk and you're chasing them, they remember the way you chased them. What would Jesus do? Would Jesus chase a young person because they are drunk? So we are so concerned about preserving the image and the name and not about saving the people, who belong to the church. Yeah. Okay, finally, let me say this. I've just remembered what you told me, that maybe I talk about it, that the young people. I personally, and I tell people, don't add me to a WhatsApp group if you want me to contribute for your wedding. I don't do that. But I will, if I don't attend your wedding, I'll send you a gift. I send you a gift to bless you, because getting married is your business. Okay? And if you can't afford to raise money for the getting married, you are not in a place to take care of a marriage. Marriage is much more expensive than a wedding, okay? And you can actually do that which you can afford. And I've seen that happening, like people deciding you can bless them if you want, because the more you're trying to make people support you, actually, the more people don't want to. And another thing that you do, you make your marriage to be the business of everybody. You make me contribute, then you begin having issues in your marriage, and you separate or divorce. I take it very personal. I contributed my 5,000, and that marriage did not even last. I take it very personal. And because you borrowed me money for the wedding, you're under obligation to come and explain to me why your wife is not staying with you. But that's the way it works. He who pays the piper calls the tune. I funded the wedding, so I have a right to know. And if you have taken a year, 2 years, you have no children, I have to know why. I have to know. But that's the truth. That's why a lot of young people, young couples, when they are not getting, they are taking longer to get children, people are asking you all over. They're asking you, oh, what happened? Iko kitu, what happened? And maybe you are struggling, you are trying, but it's not working. But I funded the union, so I have a right to know. Let's not spiritualize physical matters, people. Let's not spiritualize physical matters. Because I have funded you in the flesh, so you must also tell me what you're doing in the flesh. Yeah. So this is the thing, yeah? So you put yourself at a vulnerable place where people will have to want to know what happened, yeah? So now, as a church then, I look at it this way. Let's encourage, and sometimes I also see churches encouraging people to get married other than encouraging them to be self-sustaining. Like you will find, if we are having young people, maybe it's during the camp meeting, we are spending so much time telling them about love and relationships and marriage. It's okay, but for me, I want to empower young people with skills so that they can make an income. Ati iko mtu, go away. Ati ukona mtu. Situwaulize, do you have a job? Do you have resources? And I was telling young people the other day, when I go to Rwanda, because I've had an opportunity to work with the people in Rwanda. When I go to Rwanda and when I come to Kenya, university students, the questions I'm asked are very different. The young people in Rwanda are asking me questions about investments, savings, jobs, businesses, side hustles. I can show you. Those are 75% of questions they ask me. Let me tell you, in Kenya, even in primary school, even in high school, university, sex, relationships. I don't know. Niko na boyfriend, niko na girlfriend. I'm like, how old are you? 18. You're talking about girlfriend. How old are you? 22. And you're confused with a sugar daddy, a sugar mommy. What's wrong with you? Then when I'm asking, so do you have any source of income? I said, no, boyfriend, girlfriend, when you have no source of income, what exactly are you talking about? So for me, I feel let's encourage, empower our young people much more. Because when they are able to take care of themselves, everything else falls into place. Because some young people are sweating and struggling, looking for girlfriend, boyfriends, when they need to focus inward. So you will find, because these young people are struggling to do two things, looking for a relationship and looking for a job. They are 32, they have no job, they have no money, they have no partner. I'm telling you, you can't be 32, you have no partner, you have no money. No. You must have one of them. You can't be poor at 32 and you have no partner, you have no money. If you are a girl, you have no money at 32. It can't work. You know, money is more loyal than a partner. So if you see this area of you getting a partner is not working, weka kando, hustle, put that one aside, hustle and get the money. You know, and then, you may say that I'm worshiping money. I'm not. The love of money is the root of all evil. But I'm telling you that we need money for everything. Even the broadcasting, even come meeting, we're asking you for money here. So you can't be coming, you're telling us to give you tips on how to get a responsible and reliable partner and you have no money. It can't work. Look for one of them. If this one is not working, just work on the other one first, okay? So once you have this one, then it will facilitate you even to get the other one, okay? So I think that's what, so let's empower. Even when young people are coming, they're asking for help, they're asking for this. Me, I told you by default, I will just ask. Because I'm tired of the generational poverty that we are perpetuating in Africa. Because people in university, you want to know whether they are graduating with a partner. Why? We need to ask, are you graduating? Do you have a job? Do you have a skill? Do you have a hustle? That's what we need to be asking them. Not that umeenda kupata mtu. So they think they are going to university to have sex and relationships and popping morning after pills and abortions left, right, and center. Instead of, so imagine if our young people between the ages of 18 to 25, when they have cleared high school, they have gone to university. A typical Kenyan youth will spend most of their 18 to 25 chasing girls or chasing boys, chasing relationships, 18 to 25. You have one in Rwanda spending most of that time equipping themselves with skills. Will these young people, when they grow up and become adults, will they ever sit on the same table? Will they ever? Will Kenyan youth ever be the leaders of tomorrow when they are chasing sex and relationships? They won't. In fact, I was talking to a number of young ladies in Rwanda, as I told you, 25, 27, 28, 30, 32. A lot of them, as I was talking with them, they were saying, I bought a house, I've furnished it, it's an Airbnb, I'm renting it. 28, I'm working in the bank, I've bought a house, and where they have bought a house, is the Kilimani Kileleshwa Lavington. So I'm like, So they say, I bought this house, I furnished, because Rwanda is a small country and it's a destination for many things. So you find housing has been a crisis. So when I went, there was the Women Deliver Conference where they had a lot of women from all over the world who had gone to Kigali for the conference. So because of that, there's a need for housing, okay? At that point, if you went, even flight, it was hard to get. Getting accommodation was a challenge. So these girls were telling me, now my Airbnb, and it's strategically in a place near State House, which is safe. They said it's fully booked. My Airbnb is fully booked. I have clients for this year. Once I finish, I have for the other year. Do you think this girl will ever be a victim of domestic violence? Do you think she'll be a victim of domestic violence? No. She will have a relationship in her own terms. Do you think this young man who has invested at 32 is getting married? Do you think he's going to marry a daughter of Jezebel? who is only bringing hips, lips, and fingertips, which are fake? Do you think that is what the young man is going to look for, hips, lips, and fingertips, fake ones? He will not, because he has worked hard, he has invested. So he's going to look for somebody who has also invested. I pity our Kenyan youth. I'm just challenging you today. We are telling you are leaders of tomorrow. But how can we be leaders of tomorrow when we are busy having sex and chasing people at 18 to 25 when we need to keep ourselves with skills? So as a church, let's refuse. Me, I'm angry. I've refused. I'm not going to enable our youth to continue sleeping all over the place, left, right, and center, because I'm not holding them accountable. Let's hold them accountable and encourage them to move out and live somewhere. It doesn't have to be that if you're in a 4 or 5 bedroomed house, your young person has their own room and their own bathroom and toilet, they continue living there. No. They go to a bed sitter, they go live there. Don't say, oh, my child, they will be walking kwa matope. Are you forgetting where you started? Umesahau ile matope ulianzia to be where you are. So let's give them an opportunity. Okay, thank you. I think I'll stop there. Yeah, I think I'll stop there so that we can, I'm seeing our time has gone on this visitation. Okay, would somebody want to make a comment? Then I pray. If I don't want to leave somebody feeling like maybe they want to say something. Okay, young people, you feel bashed. I'm telling you that in love. I have a lot of young people in my house and I love you. I want the best for you. Okay, anybody wants to say something? Then I can pray. I don't want to leave you in case you feel like umetugonga sana. Okay, let's hear, then I'll pray. Let me just put a disclaimer even as I pray. I don't know any of you, and she had not talked to me. So I'm not even being very specific of anything that I know, but I can tell you, and I think Ellen White also put it so well, that the habits which we develop in youth, they are the habits that we are going to reap in this life and even in the afterlife, yeah? You don't learn some things when you grow up. So don't say that even as I grow older, I'm going to do this. I was telling the young people that I mentor at work. At work, I mentor interns. So I was telling them that right now you have a lot of energy and there are things that you can do. So I told them that when I got employed, immediately I got employed in the government. And for some time, I was actually working day and night. Yeah, I know sleep is very important, but for me at the time, there was a generational poverty that I wanted to break. She said she grew up in Kibera. Me, I was homeless, I can say. We didn't have a house, so, some strange thing, story for another day. But I knew I was breaking a pattern. So I used to work in the government job during the day in a hospital. I work at night in a private hospital. I would do a shift for 7 days, day and night. So day I was in a public hospital, night I was in a private hospital because there was the opportunity. The private hospital was even paying me more, okay? I did that even when I got pregnant for our firstborn son. I worked like that for 7 months. I was 7 months pregnant. So I was working day and night. You will tell me sleep is very important. Of course it is. But I knew if I didn't take some extraordinary measures, I was going to go back to that poverty I never wanted. I think this private hospital just realized I was going to deliver there when I'm on shift. They just said, you know now, unless you come full time, we may not continue, whatever, we may not continue having you like on part-time. So for that reason, I was able to take 2 months at least working in public hospital to deliver our son, okay? So the point I'm trying to say is that at that point, I was in my 20s. I realized that I have to take these steps. So I remember when I was talking to this guy who I had to work when I was expectant, who were talking, I told him, you may not do what I did, but if I didn't do what I did at the time, you wouldn't be here. But I had to take those extraordinary measures because I was coming from a place where you are homeless and you are coming from a background, you are homeless, you have nothing. And you know your mother has sold land and all the cows to take you to school. So you literally know that for me to have gone to school, our land is sold, our cows are sold. My brothers have no milk. So you have to take that opportunity and work to replace the cow so that your brothers can have milk. And to redeem that land which has been sold for you to go to school, because I didn't want that homelessness, to continue, okay? So please, we are telling you this in love. Don't take it personal, take it positively. I pray that the Lord will be with you and give you strength. So as we work towards camp meeting, remember, love relationships is important, but let's empower our young people to take care of themselves so that we break the intergenerational cycle of poverty that has plagued us as Adventists and as Africans and as Kenyans, okay? Great, so let me pray. Our Father and our Lord, we thank you so much for giving us an opportunity. Thank you for your word in season. I thank you for what you have taught us today. How I pray, dear Jesus, that if there's anything we have learned that is for edification of your people, that, Lord, we are going to apply it and it's going to help us to reap more fruits for your kingdom. And if there's anything that is unworthy, that has gone against your will, oh God, that has fallen short of your glory, I pray that we may forget it. Forgive us where we have sinned against you. Guide us, bless us, Lord, throughout the week. I want to pray for your children, especially the young ones. If there are any that are looking for jobs, please open windows of opportunity for them that no man can close. If there are any who are in business, bring customers their way. I pray that you may even give parents wisdom, Lord, that we may nurture this generation for your kingdom. Give us knowledge, give us understanding, give us wisdom, give us unconditional love, that we may support them in everything that they do. I want to pray a special blessing upon this church as they look forward to camp meeting and as they raise money. Lord, may you provide. Be with us until we meet again, for it's in Jesus' name we have prayed and believed. Amen.